Don't you hate it when you put new mascara over old mascara and it's like sticky? Oh, I just got a bubble. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I have a few disclaimers to start with. First of all, I'm sorry for this bald spot. I've redone this like 4 times and it's always there, so we're just gonna have to deal. And also I am fighting hay fever this year. I haven't had it as of yet, but I can feel it brewing around my nose. Like, my nose is really itchy, so if I sniff, I'm very sorry. Okay, so for today's video I thought I would talk to you about long distance relationships, seeing as I've had one for the last 7-8 months. I have a rough idea of what I want to speak about during this video, but I haven't written like a list or an itinerary or anything like that, because I wanted it to be real. I wanted just have a chat with you guys, because obviously a subject like this is very personal to me and obviously very personal to you. If you're watching this, it's probably because you're like thinking about it or doing it and you want some advice. So I want it to be more like you're sat in front of me and we're just having a cup of tea, which I have over there, and a chat, rather than me lecturing you about long distance relationships. Another disclaimer I want to throw in there: my long distance relationship would not look like a long distance relationship to other people. When I'm at uni, me and Christian are 100+ miles away, like just over 100 miles away from each other. And I know some people in long distance relationships would kill to only be 100 miles away from each other. Like, we can get to each other in a 2.5 hour drive, which some people is like barely anything. People who have to take 7-hour flights or whatever. So if you are one of those people, I do not understand how you do it. Like, congratulations, because that's insane. I struggle so much with just being 100 miles away. Because at home, back in Bournemouth, we live literally 4 minutes away, like a 4-minute drive from each other. So to go from that to 100 miles was a big deal for us. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was to address those of you, that was really weird, I don't know why I hesitated there, those of you who are contemplating doing a long distance relationship. So I just wanted to talk about the negatives and the positives and what you have to consider. So the first thing I would say is it worth it? I know that's awful to say and horrible to think about, especially, I'm just gonna adjust, especially if you've been with the guy for a long time, or even a short time and it's all new. You don't really want to consider the long term, like, is it worth me doing this? But university is a place where you meet a lot of new people and have a lot of new experiences, so you have to really consider if you want to be with that person in the long run. It's really important to talk about it early as well. Me and Christian had only been going out 5 months when he brought it up. It was in February, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He asked me what university I wanted to go to, and I was never wanted to be one of those girls who chose a university based on a boy. That to me is just, I just couldn't do it, because I didn't want to get a year down the line, we break up, and then I regret my choice. I wanted to put me first, which I think you should do in any relationship, whether it's long distance or not. So I wanted to put me first, so I said I'm going to the University of Greenwich. And then him, bless him, just turned around and went, so should I get the train or... And I just burst out crying. I don't know why. Obviously I wanted him to get the train or the coach or whatever. I wanted us to do long distance. But I was just talking about it, like the reality of it was so scary. So I would suggest definitely having that conversation with your partner early on, so you're both on the same page, because you don't want to get to like a week before you leave and him go, okay, see you later. And you're like, what? So talk about it early, make sure you're on the same page, and then you can both start the painful countdown together. Haven't had one of these in ages. Ugh. Ooh, they do not taste good. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the positives of a long distance relationship, because I don't want this video to be, you know, sad or anything. So for the positives, I think it's really good actually. I at the start I hated it, but looking back I really enjoyed it, because you get to learn who you are outside of your relationship whilst being in it, which not many people get to do. Usually you become quite codependent on your person, or you just spend a lot of time together. And whilst that is amazing, it's obviously, like as university is, it's a really good place to find out who you are, find out what you want. And being in a long distance relationship does help with that, because you know you've got the support whilst the opportunity to grow by yourself. I also think it's really good because I feel like me and Christian appreciate each other more now. Because obviously when you see the person all the time, you're always with one another, you can take each other for granted, you can forget what you mean to each other. Whereas when you're apart and you have to look forward to seeing each other, it makes you appreciate them more when they're there. I hope that makes sense. That's a really really weird way of putting it. But yeah, so I also think that whilst you're together, so once you've done all the waiting, you're with each other, you do way more fun stuff together because you want to make the most of your time. So you're not just in bed watching Netflix, although sometimes that's fine. But you're out exploring together, making new experiences together, which is way more exciting. So I think they are definitely the positives. As for the negatives, I think it depends how far away you are from the person. It can be very challenging. So if you've got time differences, which me and Christian don't have luckily, but if you did, that could be very frustrating. So if you were awake whilst they were asleep or vice versa, that would make communication a huge struggle, which is one of my points I'm going to bring up later. Also, it is hard because you, not always, but if you are with a time difference, you'll have to schedule when you want to talk to each other, which if you're at university or something could limit you, because part of university is the spontaneity of it all. Like, someone could say, hey, let's go out for a night out, and you'd have to say, oh okay, but can we go an hour later because I need to speak to you, blah blah blah. Which in the long run isn't a big deal, but it could take its toll on some people or some friends, I guess. Another negative is obviously it makes you miss home more. I feel like if I didn't have a boyfriend and I went to uni, I wouldn't have missed home as much as I did, which I think would have hugely affected my experience at university, but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. So they are just a few of the negatives. I haven't got that many on the top of my mind because I've managed to come up with a load of ways to combat those negatives and turn them into a positive, which I'm going to share with you now. Okay, so my first tip would be to choose your communication channel, like choose the platform you're going to communicate on, because there have been times when me and Christian have like missed each other in communication. So I've texted him and he's tried calling me, so I tried FaceTiming him back, so he's tried Skyping me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it gets very overwhelming with how many medias there are. So for me and Christian, our main line during the day was texting or or Snapchat, because I guess two different things, but mostly texting. We don't text that much during the day anyway, but just like a good morning, how's your day going, cool, speak to you later kind of thing. But text was really easy to do that. And then during the night we'd Skype, because neither of us have Macs, and I quite liked being able to go on my phone whilst talking to him. That sounds really bad, isn't it? We're in a long distance relationship and when he calls me I just go on my phone. But you know what I mean, like sometimes you'll just have evenings when you're like talking to each other, so like you just like check through your phone, show them stuff and whatever. So we used Skype. It also meant he could have it on his computer screens whilst he was playing his video games, and we could still talk to each other, so multitasking. So I think it is really important to establish that early, just so that you're on the same page and you don't feel overwhelmed with all the different social media messages like coming at you. Then my second tip is hugely important, and that's organising when you're going to meet up together. I found this hugely so much of a help, because it allows you to look forward to it. So me and Christian, it sounds ridiculous now that I think about it, we saw each other, I think the longest we were apart was 2 weeks. And now you're all sat there going, you're not even in a long distance relationship. Some people go months without seeing each other. I think it is because mine and Christian's relationship, before I went to uni, we saw each other practically every day. And towards the end we were getting so much better, like we could go 2 weeks and it wasn't that big of a deal. But especially towards the start, it was really important to me that I saw him at least every 2 weeks. So, and we took it in turns, which is another really big thing. So he would come up, I would come down the next week, and vice versa. That way it would work out. He only came up once a month, and I came down once a month. And I think I came down more than he came up as well, because I liked visiting home as well. Like, a lot of my friends were still here, and obviously my mum and everything. So if you organise when you're going to meet up, you can start the countdown to when you're going to see him or her. You have something to look forward to, and you can also have something extra to talk about, like what you're going to do when you see each other. If you're in a super long relationship, it also allows you enough time to be able to book your flights or your transport. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Your transport to the place where they live. and get yourself organised, because obviously if it is more than just a car journey, it's going to take a bit more preparation. I would also say plan what you're going to do with that person, or at least have an idea. So when Christian would come up, we would do touristy things. Obviously I'm in London, so we went to some of the museums, we explored Greenwich, oh my goodness, this is so bad, I'm so sorry. Went to some of the marketplaces, and when I would come down, I would organise my time so that I could see Christian, I could see my family, I could see my friends, and it would just make our time together a lot more effective and efficient, so that we weren't wasting any time, or we weren't like thinking of like stuck for ideas of what to do. My fourth tip is keeping it fresh. Now this sounds super weird, and I didn't know what else to call it. Basically, having Skype calls every night or whatever can get quite repetitive, especially if you're having the same conversations. So, how was your day? Yeah, my day was good. What did you do today? What was the best bit of your day? Blah, 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 blah. Like, it gets very repetitive very quickly. So I would suggest coming up with new ways to interact with each other. So there are loads of websites where you can play games with one another over the internet, so like Battleship or Checkers or whatever, but loads of fun games as well, like multiplayer games. So that's a really fun thing to do together. You can also watch shows together. So I think me and Christian watched Bake Off together over Skype, but that's really fun because it was a tradition we had before I went to uni, so we really wanted to carry it on whilst I was at uni. We didn't want it to be like something like, what am I trying to say? We wanted there to be as minimal change as possible, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. I should have really like done a crossword puzzle or something before I started this video. Wake up right. So by coming up with new ways to talk to each other and things to do whilst you're talking to each other, it can almost become like a mini date and keep things exciting and new, and you can also have new experiences with each other whilst being so far away. My last tip is about saying goodbye. This is always a hard thing to tackle and it sucks every time, but I would say don't talk about goodbyes until the day you have to do it. Like, you don't want to have to think about it beforehand, because it will just ruin the rest of your trip, because you're sad that in the end you will be leaving. So I just say do it on your last day, don't talk about it before, and when you do, don't say like, oh goodbye, you say like, oh, see you in 2 weeks, and then it's like, you know, it's not that bad. I guess if you're saying, oh, I'll see you in 4 months, might be a little bit different, but focus on the positives of it. Or just say like, oh, I'll speak to you tomorrow, just so you know that you're not leaving them. You've still got amazing communication. Like, long distance relationships are so much easier in our age, our generation, with all our technology. So be thankful for that and use that to your advantage when you are leaving your significant other. So that's all I have for this video. I hope it helps some of you and persuade some of you that long distance relationships aren't that scary and can be easily combated with positive thinking and the right use of communication. So if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Also leave any questions that you have down below there as well, because I will be doing another Q&A very soon. Bye!